Namaste. I'm Dr. Madhusudan Patel, and today's video clip is on the theme of fear and faith. It is also the first video clip in which I will explain the role of the medical science of neurology, how this particular field of medicine or of science can help you in the process of your spiritual aspirations, or even for your realization of your dreams and your aspirations in general. Fear arises from the body. It arises in your brain from a specific center in your brain called the limbic system. So fear is something absolutely physical and biological. Faith, on the other hand, does not arise from the brain. Faith in the divine, faith in yourself or self-confidence is a spiritual energy. It comes from your soul. So why these two things together? Fear and faith. Pure biological reaction, and then the spirituality or the spiritual process, this wonderful energy of faith in the divine, this love for the divine that comes from your soul. How does neurology, or the science of your brain, how your brain functions, the science of neurology, come into action, how it can help you in your spiritual process? Because you can convert this fear which arises from your brain into faith. Why? Because fear as such is an instinctive energy or instinctive emotion that arises in you in unforeseen situations. It is something that you cannot create as such. It just comes very, very instinctively. I'll give you a very simple example. You're crossing the road, you're absent-minded, and all of a sudden you see a fast-moving car approaching you, and it will hit you if you don't jump back, and you automatically jump back. You do not analyze, you do not think, you do not calculate. It is automatic. You try to catch an ant, it runs away. It has no brain, but still, so it's instinctive. And it comes from the limbic center, which is a particular part in your brain from where it arises. Now, there is a reason for this. Why are you afraid? Fear is an energy, it's an emotion, as I said, and all emotions have energy, they bring about change in your body. Fear is an energy that creates in you harmful chemicals. Your heartbeat goes up, your blood pressure rises. And I know of people who have suffered from serious heart illness caused through stress, which is caused through fear. The stress of not knowing what is going to happen tomorrow with his business investment for this businessman who has heart problems. This stress, this fear of tomorrow, what will happen with his business, will go well or not, creates in him a stress. And that creates in him chemicals that disturb his sleep, his appetite, his digestive system, and most of all, fear brings down your level of immunity. Your immune system goes down. And when your immune system, which protects you, which gives you immunity against infections and illnesses, when it's low, you're susceptible to fall ill. So, apart from protecting you from disaster, and Brahman created this energy and put it in every living creature for the purposes of evolution. Because if you did not have fear, if there was no fear in this creation, there's a great risk that everything will get destroyed because nobody is careful. You do not watch out for your life, and animals don't watch out for their lives, and everything would get destroyed. And this entire creation would come to a stop. But this particular instinctive energy, emotion, has conserved life. It's for protecting life. But it is in your unconscious self, and that's why you don't have control. But through neurology, through the science of neurology, we know how it arises, when it arises, and then there are techniques that I will explain to you in a short while, through which we can convert this fear into faith. Now, one very particular aspect of fear is that once you have the result of something, you cannot be afraid. Or in other words, the lack of knowledge of how something is going to take place gives you fear. This uncertainty. Very simple example is for a student who has to pass his examination and get his diploma. He's afraid of the examination. He's so afraid. I know of students who have come to me with this problem. They can't eat, they can't sleep, and they can't learn because they're so nervous and they're so stressed because they have not slept for nights that they can't remember, memorize the text or the subject that they are studying for. And this is because the student does not know whether he will pass the examination or not. But once he has passed this examination, he is no more afraid. Then the fear is gone. And even if he wanted to be afraid, he won't be able to. Now, I want you to note this point, that once you know about the results regarding what you're afraid of, there is absolutely no chance. Fear goes away. It disappears. And this is very important to remember, because we will see that through very simple techniques and understanding of how your brain functions, you can create this. And you will see, I will explain it to you a little later. Now, as I said, it is something that the divine has put in us. And this is exactly the idea of spirituality, of transforming this biological self of human beings into this divine being. Because our true identity, as the Mother and Sri Aurobindo and all great masters have said, is the soul. We live in this body. But this body has its biological functions which are not the same as the spirit, as the soul, the divine. The soul is the divine in us, God in us. Sri Aurobindo, the Mother, Sri Krishna, Shiva, Christ, all these people are within us. All these divinities are within human beings, and that is the soul. But the body is something biological. It came through the process of evolution from animal into man. And we have those animal instincts of self-preservation and so on still. Even though we are perfectly safe, even though we have food to eat and everything, we live in a house and everything, but there is always fear in us with what will happen tomorrow. And that is why this particular video clip is important, that you understand that you have to overcome your fear, and that is applied spirituality. But it is not enough that you pray to the divine. It is good, it's important, but for other reasons than for getting rid of fear. Just praying to the divine to get rid of your fear. Praying to the divine, say, please make sure. I received a message from a young student from India saying, if Mother wants it, then I will succeed. But I want you to help me. I'm so nervous. I'm so afraid. And you see, that won't help him. I can help him through my knowledge, and I explained him, and he truly passed his exams. But just praying to say, please take care of this, make me pass the examination. No, you have to apply, you have to learn, you have to study. You have to go to the university, give your exams and so on. The Mother won't do it, Sri Aurobindo won't do it, and nobody else will do it for you. You have to do it, otherwise you don't get the diploma. So what do we do? How do you get rid of this? And this is the idea of spirituality, that you learn. And this is where I was fortunate, that the Mother told me, learn everything about your brain. It is the most important organ in the human body. It is extremely interesting, the brain. It has faculties that are fantastic. And I was so lucky that the mother encouraged me to study these things. That she has explained me things that now I can understand through my knowledge of science even better. And so, if you want to succeed, you have to overcome these fears. And the way to do it is not to just become careless and say, I don't care if I get hit by a car. No, it doesn't work that way. No, you have to have this absolute knowledge of how you can take care of things that make you worry. This is a discipline. It is a spiritual discipline, but where you have to use also your neurological faculties, the faculties or the capacities of your brain, which is nothing to do, what in this particular case, it has nothing to do with intelligence. It has nothing to do with whether you can read or write. I will explain to you. What can be done? I will explain to you. Is that first let me explain to you how the human brain functions. Very simply, we have two hemispheres. The left hemisphere, the left side of the brain if you want it, and the right side of the brain, the right hemisphere. And both these brain sections, hemispheres, have different functions, different capacities or abilities, and they are woven together, they're connected together, and they work simultaneously in harmony with one another. But by understanding what your left hemisphere is capable of doing and what your right hemisphere is capable of doing, you can then use these capabilities consciously through simple applied techniques. Now, the left hemisphere is from where the logic, the rationale, the judgment, the analysis comes. You know you have to study to pass the exam. You know that you have to really be able to present the answers to the questions asked to you. This comes from your left side. But it is here also that you know that the chances only 50%, 50-50 is statistics, that you can succeed or you might fail. So the left side says, my God, I will find out whether I succeeded or not once I have written the examination. All this comes from the left side. So the fear arises technically through this knowledge that you do not know the results. Your intelligence is telling you you have not yet passed the exams. The right hemisphere is totally different. It does not have this logic. It does not have this rationale, this reasoning. So basically, what comes from the left side of your brain and what comes from the right side of your brain? The left side of your brain is for everything that has to do with logic and rationale. That 1 plus 1 makes 2 in every language, every culture. That comes from the left side. How to write and read requires logic. Which word comes before which word, or which letter comes after which when you're spelling a word, comes with the left side of the brain. For example, when you look at your feet, at your socks and your shoes, you know that you have to put on your socks first before you put on your shoes. That comes from the left side. If the left side was damaged and would not function or was removed, then you would not know that. You would not know how to write, you would not know how to speak. Because even for speaking, there is a grammatical, for grammar, and there is a logic, how you should structure a sentence. This you cannot do because your left side doesn't work. The right side functions perfectly. But what is the right side for? The right side is the emotional side. This is the side from where I think our spiritual aspirations and all this comes. This faith, for instance. There is no logic to faith. It is something that you have to do. It is to do with love. And also, this is the hemisphere where artistic creation comes. Music comes from the right side of the brain, not from the left side. We have analyzed these things in laboratories, in the medical field. So we know that all musical compositions and so on comes from your right side. So you might not be able to read because the left side is totally destroyed. But you can still play or hear a melody or create a melody. Basically, if you are a pianist and you are playing piano, if your left side is destroyed, by the way, the left brain hemisphere controls the right part of your body, and your right brain hemisphere controls the left side of your body. So if the left side is gone, your right side is paralyzed. So you won't be able to play the piano with your right hand. But even though you can't speak or read or write, you'll be able to play a melody that you know by heart, that you've memorized, you'll be able to play. You won't be able to read the notations and play. No, a new melody that you put in notations, you need to recognize and understand logically which note is written on the paper to play with which note on the piano. So that is it. But what you know memorized, what is in you, you can play with your left hand. The right hand is paralyzed. You can't read, you can't write, you can't speak, but you can play music with your left hand. So it's interesting that the right hemisphere is, according to me, I call it the spiritual hemisphere, because the left side is the one that creates problems, the analysis, the logic. When people ask him, does God exist? He wants proof. That's the left side, because what he sees, he believes. So I see you, and I say, yeah, you are there. But if you say there is God, and I just have, my right side doesn't function at all, just there, then I say, give me the proof. So if you show me God, I'll believe it. But the right side intuitively knows that the mother and Sri Aurobindo are constantly present. That the divine is always there. Yes, for every single human being, the divine is constantly, it was divine, we are a divine creation. And so this comes from the right side. Now, what is interesting is that the right brain hemisphere does not have logic. Therefore, if I can make the right brain believe that I have passed an exam, for instance, then I would not be afraid of the exam. I'll give you an example. I get very often students, brilliant students, who come to me while their doctors send them to me because they are so nervous and so worried about the exams that they can't eat, they can't sleep, they can't learn. So tranquilizers does not help them. Tranquilizers will make them sleep. But the moment they wake up, the fear is again there, because they still have this uncertainty whether they will pass the medical exam or not. Now, they come to me. What do I do? Through very simple techniques that we have developed, that I use, we can make the right brain hemisphere believe that he is already a medical doctor. So, how do you teach the right brain hemisphere that does not have logic, does not have rationale, that cannot read and write from the right side? There's one faculty, there is one particular thing for which you do not need logic and rationale. Is pictures. When you see something, you recognize it, you understand it. So if through pictures I can make him understand things, fine. For instance, if I tell you, what is that? What are those? And you say, flowers. Yes, but if I have to explain a child or a person who has never seen a flower what it is, or I'm trying to explain to a Swahili who does not know English or French or German, and I don't speak Swahili, a few words, yes. If I say to him, flowers, do you have flowers? He will not understand. But if I show him, I say, I want that. He knows what I want, and he gives me the flowers. So you can see that pictures do not require logic. So if I, through pictures, like children learn fairy tales through pictures, not through sentences, because that's too small, they cannot read and write, but they can understand pictures, and they can learn through pictures. So if I, through pictures, build a scenario that this medical student has passed his medical exam. So, very simple. If I ask him to close his eyes and visualize, build as a picture, he sees himself as a doctor. For instance, very simple, that he's dressed like a doctor, he has a stethoscope, which is a very stereotyped picture of a doctor in white coat and a stethoscope either in his pocket or around his neck, and that he's doing his round in the ward, checking the patients with nurses and everything. So he truly feels the emotion, sees the picture that he's a doctor, all this with the right side. And the right brain hemisphere has no logic, the left has logic and says the examination is in 3 months. But the right brain hemisphere doesn't care whether it's in 3 months or whether it's a pass. It has this picture that he's already a doctor and his nervousness, his fears subside or go down so low that he starts learning, starts sleeping. So I have never ever failed one single time with a patient through these techniques to remove anxiety and things of this sort. 100% chance of success if you do it properly. And it is so easy and it is so simple that once you have learned these techniques, you are free. So imagine hours of meditation in front of the samadhi or in the temple prayers and rituals that you pass the exam. No, go to the temple and pray. And praying is not asking, praying is offering. You bring flowers, you bring yourself, you bow down to your creator. So when I go to the samadhi, I'm one with the mother and Sri Aurobindo. I'm not asking him something. I ask when I go to a store, but when I go to God, I don't ask him for things. I'm there to receive him, to present myself, to offer myself to him. It's a love affair. It's a story of love. It's a divine thing. So pray. But when you are praying, become one with this divine consciousness. And this is what faith is. What is faith? Faith is first in you because the divine is within you. And when I'm bowing down to Sri Aurobindo and the mother, believe it or not, I am one with them. And I'm physically now offering myself to them. Because my spirit and soul is there in me. But now I am physically putting my hands and doing namaste. And yes, when you pray, when you go to the temple, this is a very beautiful, beautiful mudra to put your hands together. Body and soul together bows down to the divine, to Lord Sri Krishna or to Shiva. And this is what is important. Faith in yourself, the fact that they are in you and you are a part of them, should give you this faith. And the more you use this right hemisphere, this emotion of being one with them comes from the right side, not from the left side. And this, when you evolve this, when you practice this and you go into meditation, you become one with them, with this energy, then there is absolutely no place for these negative frequencies of fear, because this confidence in them, you put it in you. And you say, you are in me, I have confidence and you will guide me to success. And that takes away already fear, because you have this absolute faith from the right side where there is no logic. And you say, you are guiding me, you are in me, and I'm studying aware of you. This is extremely important. Look, in the battle of Kurukshetra, Sri Krishna does not fight, does not do the work, does not do the battle. Arjuna has to do the battle. He has to fight. So he teaches Arjuna, he explains Arjuna. And Arjuna is one with Sri Krishna. He's carrying Sri Krishna within him. That is what it means. That Sri Krishna is driving him forwards and motivating him to perform his duty. Now that is applied spirituality. That you not only worship the mother and Sri Aurobindo with love and all that, or worship God, Jesus Christ, whoever, Allah, they are in you. But you have to do the act. And they in you give you this energy and power and knowledge to perform what you're supposed to perform. This is what I call a spiritual love affair, within which all these obstacles disappear. And believe it or not, this anxiety, this fear has done a lot of harm. It is through fear that there are wars. Because one country is afraid of another country, thinking that it could overtake it. So there is a competition. Which country has more arms and more airplanes and more tanks? I don't know. That is not what makes a difference between one country and another. What makes the difference, the superiority of a country, is in its self-consciousness. And this is why you have to please learn these simple things, how science can help you, how hours of meditation can be replaced within a couple of minutes of this particular technique that you use, that you can learn very simply. And I will try and do a video clip with a specific example with the images. Goodness, my English is getting bad. Where the images, I will show which images are used for what and how we do it. It's simple, it's easy, it's beautiful. So, transforming fear into faith, which is pure spirituality, faith. Remember, faith in yourself, self-confidence, and faith in the divine. You have to do it through the help of knowledge, science, medical science, in this case, neurology. And you don't have to know exactly all the different things that the brain is capable of doing, the different parts of the brains and so on, what comes from where. But it is important that you use basic capacities that you have. It is in you. Somebody has to just teach you, or you've just got to learn. And then you will see that the process of spirituality is not a discipline in that sense, like the military discipline, where you have to sweat and fight. No, it is a joyous experiment. It is a joyous venture of the spirit. It has to be joyous. Just look at the mother in Sri Aurobindo. Look at it in the eyes. And you will see what I mean. This peace, this love, this joy, this harmony, this state of consciousness which converts everything into one single symphony and melody of Lord Shri Krishna. That is the path of spirituality, to dance to the music of Lord Shri Krishna and to feel in every cell of your body the divine presence and to become one with their consciousness, with the divine consciousness. With that, I will stop this particular video clip, remind you to be happy, and before we stop, I want you to listen to this mantra and feel this mantra in every cell of your body. This mantra, from what I understand, just says, Mother Shri Matru Mira, Lord Shri Aurobindo, I bow down to thy feet. In other words, asking them for their blessings and becoming one with their consciousness. So listen, close your eyes, breathe slowly and deeply. Feel the peace in every single cell of your body. Om Namo Shri Matru Mira Shri Aravinda Sharanam